Hello, today is my second podcast. I'm really excited and I think I'm a little more relaxed, a little more prepared, and I have lesser expectations based on the previous podcast. So, whatever I do, I'm thinking I will be just fine. Today, I'm going to talk about I don't know why it's a serious subject, but it is quite serious somehow. I feel that it's more of a common sense, the way I treated this or the way I looked at it ever since I wanted to deal with it myself. Now, what is it? So, it's mental health. I think just the word mental attached to health, people just want to run away from it. God knows why. But I discuss this a lot with my friends and family. The minute someone tells me, okay, you know what, I'm going through this, I'm going through a crisis or a low in my career, anything that you feel that you're burdened, that's when I tell them, just hang on there. First thing, you discussing with me, I'm all ears, but there is a better way of dealing with it. That is going to a therapist. Somebody who will actually give you like, okay, this happens to everyone, maybe this is the way you have to look at it, maybe interpret this, a certain way that will make your heart feel much, much lighter, make you more efficient, help you with ways that even you didn't think that it was that simple, right? And I'm a huge believer of, I'm a solution oriented person, let me put it this way. I'm an extremely solution driven person. If I have a problem, I need that solution like right away. There is no such thing according to me that there is no solution to it. So I feel that if you feel like you're in a gridlock or you feel that that's it, this is the end, like I've already seen the worst. And that is the time you sort of need to go to a person who will say that you need to work backwards, you need to look at it a different way. I'm going to help you do that. So, a lot of people ask me, when your friends come to you, are you a patient listener? I said 100% I'm a patient listener. But there are things that you can only listen, and what are you going to do about it? Maybe they just need a ear, but sometimes they need more than that. Whether they need or they don't is their decision to make. But I'm just going to tell them that, see, I know this person, I go to her all the time. So you also can go and seek some advice. When it comes to mental health, I feel that we should probably call it something like mental health spa or mental health salon. Then maybe people will visit that place more often and maybe the problems will seem a little less. I feel that we're so comfortable going to a physician. Over and over again you get a fever, you know that your treatment is dolo, at least for the first 2 days. Then if it doesn't go down, you're going to take an antibiotic. Nowadays we think that maybe it's COVID, but in general before maybe 30 years back, everybody was treating it with crocin or dolo. That is the typical thing that we would go. We were so comfortable just calling up a physician and saying, oh, I have fever, it's 1 or 2. What do you think I should do? He'll say dolo, and we knew that. But here, I also feel that this is just as simple. Like, that is for your body, this is for your mind. And I am one of those people that I will call the physician also very easily, and just the way like that I call my therapist also very easily. I text her like, see, this is how I feel because today I had a rough day at work and I don't know what to do about this. Then she'll say, okay, let's have a quick 15-minute session, and I'll have it. I'll feel much better. I'm having coffee with my friends after that. From a low day, I just turned into a person who just wants to have coffee with a friend. That solution comes up really fast versus me thinking about it over and over again. There is a loop that I form. There are these what if questions that I keep asking myself. I know that those are not happening at that very moment, but we are thinking and over analyzing. The loop that I learned to snap out of very quickly is that over analyzing part. I do not analyze only, forget over analyze. I feel that there is somebody out there who is much, much smarter than I am. And I will believe her blindly at that point. I will try what she asked me to do. If it doesn't work, that's fine. I'm not going to lose trust on her. She's going to give me something else because they've studied it. They've studied how a psyche works and how a person gets into these loops and how can they snap out of it. So I find it very easy to say that I love seeking help. That is the first thing. Let me put it this way: I'm the first one to go and seek help if I'm down with something. I know that there's sometimes you know that you have a problem, and you discussing it with someone else might not solve it. Maybe it'll aggravate that feeling of yours, right? You all know what I'm talking about. So the more you are thinking about it, the more you're discussing with your friend, and there is no solution, but you're getting even more anxious and angrier, it is not going to help anybody. I wanted a fun thing to do in this podcast because I'm so passionate about talking about this all the time. And my team members, I think they secretly wanted to ask me certain questions, and they all wrote me a question for me to answer here. And I filled it out in these chits. And here I'm going to open one and I'm going to read one to you. What was your first therapy session like? So when I first went there, I did not know what to expect. I was just very excited because I felt that I'm going to get a solution. The reason I went, I'll tell you. So I'm this extremely carefree person. That's my personality. That's always been my personality. Then I had this child of mine. When the first 6 months of delivering the baby and you're breastfeeding, there's so many questions. You're always concerned. Why is he crying? Because he's not going to communicate and tell me what's happening. So I was all this hormones were acting up, and I had no idea how to see myself or the baby. And the fact of the matter is, everybody is clueless. But I know that you're always thinking that something I'm doing wrong. There is something wrong with me. And on top of that, the entire family around you sort of gives these expressions that you don't really understand. Like, are they concerned for me, or are they telling me in a weird way that I'm doing something wrong? So that was very confusing. And I was very attached to my child, and I was not really happy with it because I function, it's either 0 or 100 for me. And when I was dealing with my son for the first time, and I did not know how to break out of it, I was completely ignoring my husband. So I was like, okay, now you are able to take care of yourself. This child that I made still doesn't know what he's doing on this planet. So let me figure this out first. So that neglect I also started feeling that this is not a relationship that makes sense to you, right? So you are a 30-year-old, you would want to have time and you would want to have fun with another 30-year-old who will probably understand you better. This one-way communication with my child and not understanding what I'm doing stressed me out big time. So I used to cry all the time. I would never understand why I was crying. And then that was the call. I was like, this is not working out. I have to snap out of it or learn a better way. This whole crying business is not helping me or the baby. So that was my first session. I went to her. She directed it. She navigated very well, because we always think like in the movies, you're talking to this one person telling about your childhood, what happened, about what you went through and all that. That's not how a therapy session typically is. They ask you exactly why are you here. Then you can explain the problem like I just told you. And then she's going to direct with the right questions. They know that. So they know how to do it. They know their job well. So it made my life so easy. Simple things she would tell me, like, take 1 hour. Stay away from this whole confusion that you're experiencing. Try to take baby steps, like 15 minutes of your day. Do not spend time worrying. You can do that 15 minutes. I would time myself initially. I was like, okay, now 15 minutes, I'm not going to think. So those kind of exercises helped me. And from that, I never looked back. Anytime I felt that something's off, I would definitely go and take a session. That's how my first therapy session worked for me, and I feel that everybody will have a different experience, but I can assure you that it will be positive after 1 or 2 or 3, depending on what issue you have. So that's how you need to look at it. You had a problem, you're unable to solve it, it is getting bigger, it's not getting smaller. And when you realize that, you should not think what your mother thinks or what your mother-in-law would think if I'm taking therapy. If me and husband, both of us, my husband are going for therapy, then everybody's like, why, are you fine? It's not like the movies. People are going there to solve a problem. First of all, we don't even know if there is a problem. Sometimes you need to go figure that part out, right? So I am someone who is fully on. That's what I told my team. I think I've told them and brainwashed them 2 years talking about how much it made me better. And I think each one of them are inventing their problems to see if they have, and they're going there. And I feel so, so lucky to have them. The second question: do you think that we need to introduce mental health in schools? 100% I think that. And not just schools, anywhere that we think that people are going through certain things, right? Colleges, schools, the early teen years, the first time someone gets a period, those are tough times. And when you're going to a co-ed school for no fault of yours, you're pushed into this being embarrassed zone. All of those are very difficult for kids to handle. Sometimes you're not even communicating it with your parents, so you're somehow battling it on your own. And it's always easy to have these therapists or life coaches who can help you navigate your entire experience. One other thing that I feel that it would have worked for me is going to your parent, and your parents' reaction combined with their emotions is not going to be the best way forward, especially for teenagers. So I would have liked it if there was someone who is not biased, who's not worried for me. At least if she's worried, she is worried on a very high level, right? She's not emotionally connected to me. She's not my family. So she's going to give me a solution that is going to be an unbiased and something that she thinks worked or works for people of that age. So that is another reason why I would suggest going to therapy for any age, because your friends are emotionally invested in you, your family is emotionally invested in you, so they will be more worried when you come to them with a problem. It's like, are you okay, are you fine? That concern is valid. So that concern also sometimes may put you in a spot where they feel that, why are you so worried for such a small thing? So small, the definition of small, it differs person to person. It depends on how strong your mind is or your exact current situation. It depends on the what you're going through at that very moment. So I feel that kind of judgments are not there the minute you enter a therapist's room or your life coach's room. So there's so many people out there who've studied how to navigate a certain problem that you're going through in different phases of your life. Coming to the way I see it now, if I look back, I know I told you my first session was after I had a baby, but I think it would have made total sense if I had one session when I was in my teenage. It would have made total sense if I had it when I was just about figuring out how to date, or heartbreak. Everyone goes through it. I went through it, and I didn't know how to handle it. However, I knew I winged it, but it worked out fine for me. But sometimes it helps, like if there is somebody else giving you a better way of dealing with it. Another phase was, when I sent Akira to his school for the first time. That was tough. I took therapy at that time, but the separation anxiety was a bit much. I think all mothers go through it. So many friends of mine who reached out to me when they were sending out their kids for the first time. And with the minute they started, I would say, please take therapy, because that's tough one. That's a tough one where the kids are crying their lungs out because they're going to school. It's got nothing to do with what school they are going to. It is just that you've been in the house for so long, and now that the umbilical cord has to finally go, and they're going to find ways, better friends, have their own circle. All of those things actually add a lot of complexity to the relationship. So the next question: why do you think people don't want to take therapy? That's a very simple question. I think people are very much bothered about what other people think, what your family thinks, what your mother thinks, what your grandmother thinks, because they all said that, I dealt with it, so you deal with it and all that. We do attach a lot of importance to what that person thinks of me. How strong am I according to my auntie who lives in Dubai? Or what does my mother want to tell her friends about, my current existing state of mind? So those things don't matter. It never mattered to me. I'm glad that I was that person who never bothered only. But I can see so many people making decisions because of that. I don't want to tell my parents that I'm taking therapy. Then don't tell, that is fine. But taking therapy is important. You telling them or not telling them is not our concern. You fixing the issue that you think there is, or identifying why this whole loop that you're falling into is happening over and over again. So that I feel is a major thing. Even there are times when people just feel that they should not go to therapy because they read it somewhere that there is some sort of stigma associated with it. All that, it doesn't help. It doesn't help your existing problem. It doesn't help their problems. Everybody has problems, and you need to make sure, you need to make a call basically that, okay, am I going to stop that problem and find a solution, or am I going to live in this loop a little while longer, right? I think that's about it, that people are worried about what generally other people will think. The last question that I will answer, yeah, this is hilarious. So when there is a stigma and when there is negativity going around, how do you handle it? This is my favorite question. So I think there were different stages of how I dealt with it. Like I always said, I'm grateful that I was not that person who was bothered about what other people thought of me. But when you're attached to a certain purpose, like when I started Fitbee and we had clients and clients were happy, it's a huge validation because you're making an impact on a certain number of people. And the same time, when you are growing bigger and bigger, there will be more people who will come back at you or fire at you that, this I don't believe, this is you, people are not doing anything, this is how bad it was, my experience was bad and all of that. I've realized very early on that every person is different, and I'm not here to be loved by everyone. I'm not here to think that everyone who looks at me will, fall in love with me. I am not Deepika Padukone. So I do not have those expectations only. So when there are people who are outright mean and rude to you, earlier I would be like, why do you want to do that? But now I just don't question it. I feel that they are going through certain things in their life which I'm not aware of. That is why they speak that way. That is why they have to take that anger out on someone. So they'll take it out on somebody who they don't know, which is me. It's better than taking it out on your own family. So I just listen, I'll be like, yeah, whatever. But it doesn't affect me in a way that, it'll put me down or I'll feel bad about it, or, how do I turn that person to like me? I don't do all that. I'm very happy being loved by 10 people. I think that way, those 10 people will get 100% of me, or maybe 1000% from me. That is better than having 1000 people liking only 20%, right? If their attention towards me is only 20%, then I don't know what to do about that. Like if they're disappointed 80% of the time, I'm not here to please everyone. The takeaway from what I have learned and why I wanted to speak about this is, stop worrying about what people think. Stop worrying about the stigmas that do not make sense. When you don't know why that even, what was the origin of that stigma, I think it's high time we question it, we move on. We make the right decisions that help us, that will help our children, that will help our team, that will help our friends and family. We should not care about what your colleagues think, or what somebody who lives in Dubai who will never see you that much, or somebody who lives in Chandigarh who doesn't know what we are going through personally. So make sure you make wise decisions, seek therapy. There are different kinds of therapy now. There are coaches, there are life coaches who don't exactly treat you like a therapist. Maybe they can just tell you like, okay, this is the phase of your life that I can help you this way and that way. There's so many different ways of seeking help. Now, how strong you are, when it is, if you are trying to find out how strong you are, then the faster you seek help, the faster you find solutions, and you're working on those solutions immediately you figured it out, that decides how strong your mind is and how strong your focus is. Let's not worry about how strong our aunt thinks we are. Let us be the decision makers of that.